Hey everybody, Tony D with a little peek into the debate between Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler and Little Miss Antifa, who's probably going to beat him in the upcoming mayoral election. You'll remember this is the woman who wore a skirt with a bunch of communists on it. Like, oh, look at me, I'm wearing a skirt with commies on it. And she thinks it's funny. She calls herself Antifa. She's kind of mayor of Antifa, and she's leading in the polls by 11 points. So I just want you to hear some of the debate here. It's just audio with their pictures. I found this, by the way, on the subreddit Social Justice in Action, which is a great subreddit. You should check it out. It's got all sorts of Antifa and SJW stuff on it. Also, Antifa Pass Denied, which is another room on in Reddit. Both great rooms for this kind of stuff. But let's just give a listen. It's about a 2-minute clip. I'll play and stop and make comments.
The reason that the business community and others in neighborhoods don't trust you, and the reason they're concerned about you, is you've equivocated on where you stand with regard to violence. You declared that you are Antifa. You once tweeted, Antifa gang members are taking over the hood, getting wild in Southeast.
This is the Antifa symbol, by the way. And as far as I know, this is her tweet. You know, this is her encouraging these people. What does she think's going to happen when she's elected? Well, I guess she thinks that these Antifa guys will start listening to her, but she's extremely wrong about that because these Antifa guys aren't going to listen. You know, she would have to literally install them all in the government and give them free reign to do whatever they want. Then maybe. But even then, if they've got free reign to do whatever they want, why would they listen to her? If you live in the Portland area, I'm sorry. This city's lost. It's lost until, you know, it really goes to hell and the feds come in and take it over. You know, Ted Wheeler, I think, is borderline criminal with his running of Portland. Not quite as bad as de Blasio. He's a little more shifty than de Blasio. Every once in a while he does something, like when he kicked out the Chaz that erupted in Portland right out front of his building. But he is, because he's incredibly weak, that's part of the reason he sort of flip-flopped on his own policies of trying to be, you know, trying to talk to the kids. These Antifa kids, oh, they're just a bunch of wacky kids. I could talk to them. And he went down there and they spit on him and threw garbage at him. You know, he has no clue. He's gone down this path and he keeps doubling down. You know, he could have nipped this in the bud, right? If he had accepted Trump's help right in the beginning when things got bad, say, yes, send in the National Guard. Now, he would have gotten a lot of flack at home for it, but the city would be safe right now. There would be no riots, and, you know, people would have a real choice. The choice would be Ted Wheeler, who keeps us safe, or Sarah Iannarone, who sounds to me like full-blown communist. Sarah sounds like she's going down the same path as the Minnesota or the Minneapolis mayor and city council, that she's going to completely defund the police and then end up where the Minneapolis people are, which is, you know, trying to hire private security firms just to keep themselves safe, while the city just collapses all around them. She is probably going to win this election, and the city will probably collapse all around her, and she won't take the blame. No way. Wait till you hear her talk.
And you gave that 2 heart emojis and a raised fist. And then, as Dave said, you weren't willing to condemn violence. As a mayor, I want to be clear, I absolutely denounce violence and ban.
Too little, too late, Ted. You absolutely denounce violence and vandalism. Well, you could have fooled me the way you let riots run into your street for weeks and weeks and months. The way you tell the federal authorities go f yourself while people are attacking the federal courthouse. While you don't cooperate with our federal government, yeah, I think you pretty much condone the violence. You just make a show of not condoning it.
Vandalism and people who've committed violence or vandalism under the name of Antifa or any other group. And as mayor of a U.S. city, you should never equivocate, you should never waver, and you should absolutely uniformly condemn violence and criminal destruction.
And you know what you shouldn't do, Ted? You shouldn't leave your own apartment when rioters attack it with fireworks. You should arrest all those people. All of them should have been arrested and thrown in jail and tried for doing something very dangerous. It's very dangerous to shoot fireworks into a building. You could start a fire that could kill people. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to shoot fireworks into a building or at a building. It's unacceptable, Ted. If it's not illegal in your city, it effing should be. They wouldn't tolerate that here in New Jersey. No effing way. Fireworks, first off, fireworks are illegal in New Jersey, by the way. But, we still have them anyway. But to actually shoot them at a house, you'd go right to jail. Right to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Ted, you tolerated this for months. You still do. They just tore down 2 more statues. Where are you? Where are the safe streets? Now you're trying to work with the government, I guess. I mean, who knows? You've been denouncing them. Trump came out with this statement. The people who pulled down the statues are animals. This is a typical statement from a 70-something-year-old man when they hear a news story like this. Believe me, I've heard that from older guys. They say, "Oh, these people are animals." They're not talking about a race of people. They're talking about thugs committing crimes wantonly in the streets. They're not particularly targeting any race or group of people. But you equivocated to, "Oh, he's racist," and "Oh, you're putting indigenous people in danger." No, he's not. The people committing all these acts of vandalism, and you are putting people in danger by not maintaining law and order. You first off, you shouldn't even be addressing Trump. So stop trying to build up your national profile and run your damn city. And number 2, you should have sent the cops down there. They should have arrested anyone touching that statue. There's no reason to be messing with statues. Take them all in, arrest them all, and then sort it out later. And then you'll have statues, and these people will eventually give up and go home. But you didn't do that. And you're lecturing little Miss Antifa that, you can't equivocate. You equivocate all the time, dude.
He has not enforced the law equally. That is why we do not see a Night to the Endley protests.
Notice what she says. He does not enforce the law equally. And that's why we don't see an end to the nightly protest. Now, I assume what she's implying is he's not enforcing the law equally with, say, black people and white people, indigenous people and white people, right? She's making it a race issue without actually explicitly stating that. Now, maybe she did in the rest of the debate. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but, you could see how off the cuff she is about that. Oh, well, it's you and your white patriarchy and blah, 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 blah. But see, Ted, you're backed into a corner. You'll never be woke enough to beat her. She's a woman. She's a full-blown communist. She's already won. She knows she's won. She's 11 points ahead because there's so many communist sympathizers in Portland, and anybody with any sense has gotten the hell out, thanks to you. So what do you expect? You can't tack to the middle now. There's no middle left. You've driven them all out of the city. Who's left to say, maybe communism, maybe we should just back off of capitalism and try to go back to work? It's not going to be anybody left in the city to do that. And the feds aren't going to bail you out anymore. You're looking at 4 more years of Donald Trump. You're looking at 4 more years of budgetary shortfalls like you're not going to believe, while your whole city starts to fall apart, while you try to pay people just to live, while you try to pay the homeless people and everybody who comes to Portland and give them EBT cards. Meanwhile, you defund the police, crime runs rampant, all the businesses leave. You won't have any jobs. You won't have any tax base to fund all this stuff. And the whole city will just go right into the toilet. So I state again, if you live in the Portland area, please get out ASAP if you can. I feel bad for you if you do. But, I mean, what else are you going to do with 2 candidates for mayor like this?
And when I say that I oppose fascism, that is a perfectly reasonable position in 2020. Vice President Joe Biden talked about it in his debate. We cannot have any leeway for white nationalists incursion in our city.
Okay, so there's a lot to digest there, right? She states like, oh, I'm so stunning and brave because I'm taking a stand against fascism. Like anyone in America is a fascist. I mean, I guess you could find 2 or 3 people who claim to be fascist in the United States, but it's not a supported ideology here. And she knows that. She knows that, or she's delusional, in my view. So the idea that you have to come out and keep saying, oh, I don't support fascism in any way. It's because people on the left, extreme leftists, I think, like herself, redefined fascism as meaning basically anybody on the right side of politics. They're fascist. And you'll see in a minute how she starts to imply that Ted, oh, you're working with the fascists. That's your problem. And that's, that'll work. That'll get her elected, I guess, in this college city of idiots who apparently love communism. But it's not going to work once she's in charge. Who's she going to blame then? Who's she going to point to and say, well, you're the reason, fascist? Who's she going to point to when the government money runs out? The election is over. She can rail against Trump, but nobody cares. And the city's just going down the tubes. And nobody wants to report on it because, hey, it's not an election year anymore. The Dems don't want to have their grubby mitts on it. If the Dems were smart, what they do, Sarah, is kick you to the curb and say, you're out of the party. Now, is she running as a Democrat? The Democrats still have her in the party? Huh. I have to look that up. You know what? Let's look that up. Let's see. Her name is Sarah. There she is. Is she running as a Democrat? Here's her city. Our city, our future, our choice. Climate justice, good government, public safety, gun violence prevention, housing for all. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of empty houses in Portland soon because everybody's going to leave. Snow, of course, there's nothing here to tell me what party she's in, so I'll have to go to some other. Here's Twitter. Twitter Ballotpedia. Here we go. This will tell us. She earned a bachelor's degree in urban planning and sustainability from the Portland State University in 2005. Her professional experience includes working as an educator in urban policy and best practices and as a small business founder, owner, and operator. Okay. She was a nonpartisan candidate of mayor in 2016. Well, it doesn't say. Nonpartisan. I guess she's nonpartisan. I don't know what that means. Oh, he's nonpartisan too? Ted Wheeler's nonpartisan? So none of these guys? They're all nonpartisan? How does this work? Where are the Democrats and Republicans? Wow. I guess look at all these people running. There's so many people running and only 2 people in this clip. I wonder if there's a bigger clip where it was just all these people running. Now here, she ran before. She ran in 2016. She only got about 12% of the votes. Wheeler got 54, 50, almost 55% of the votes. And man, all these people ran. Like a lot of people run it. It says nonpartisan. So I guess they don't run political parties in Portland. Interesting. Well, I guess that's good. I wonder if they had all those people on stage during this debate. But yeah, I mean, Ted and Sarah they're not doing either one of them favors. They're painting themselves into a corner, essentially. Ted's trying to tack to the middle, and that's not going to work. Sarah is left, and she's up by 11 points, probably because Ted scared off anybody with any sense out of Portland, and it's just college kids left.
Sarah, all of us agree with that. All of us oppose fascism.
Then why are you leaning into right-wing dog whistles against me that bring hateful attacks my way? I get death threats whenever you...
Well, more to unpack there. So, first, Sarah is like all about, fascism, white nationalism, it's everywhere. It's not. It's just not. And she said, why are you using right-wing dog whistles? Well, that can mean anything. I mean, they're trying to say the OK symbol is a right-wing dog whistle. They've called people fascists who just don't agree with them. So it's not, it doesn't mean anything. It might work politically, it might score some points, but in the end, when Ted's gone and she has to run the show, she's not going to have Ted to blame.
Mayor Wheeler, you get a chance to respond to that, and then I'm going to ask another question to jump back in.
This isn't about whether
That's
we oppose fascism. We all do. That's an Oregon value. That's a Portland value, and it's pretty clear. Then
why are you leaning into right-wing dog whistles against me that bring hateful attacks my way? I get death threats whenever you do
Mayor Wheeler,
that.
you get a chance to respond to that, and then I'm going to ask another question to jump back in.
This isn't about whether we oppose fascism. We all do. That's an Oregon value. That's a Portland value, and it's pretty clear.
It's an American value, Ted.
But what won't help is condoning vandalism. When you were asked point blank about arson in a building that was occupied, you referred to it, you basically wrote it off. You called it petty vandalism.
You kind of wrote it off, Ted, by your response. I mean, this idea of mostly peaceful protest, the fact that you told the police to essentially pull back, that you fought with the federal government over this when they could clearly help you and get your city back under control. You don't get any sympathy from me. She's bashing you with your own club, and now you got to take it because you're trying to be the most left guy in the room, and you're just not.
And then when you were asked point blank, do you denounce the violence in this particular circumstance that was being perpetrated by Antifa? You said peaceful protest might not go far enough. And so that's the kind of equivocation, the kind of wavering on a fundamental value that leaves people concerned. I've been very clear.
Mayor, I think...
No, you haven't, Ted. No, you haven't. Not when you go down in the streets and they throw garbage at you and spit at you and curse at you and you're still kind of on their side. Those people, the rioters in Portland don't deserve any kind of leeway. They're criminals. If you riot, you're a criminal. If you're a vandal, you're a criminal. Arrest them, Ted. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to say, "Oh, it's the voice of the unheard," and all that. That's equivocating. I mean, that's equivocating. And you did quite a bit of that, in my opinion. You did it because you wanted to score points nationally against Trump, and I guess the DNC is dangling some ambassadorship in front of you. So down the road, you can maybe slide into Congressman or Senator Ted Wheeler and then make your way to the White House. Good luck now, because I think this might haunt you for a long, long time. This put you in the national spotlight, but in a bad way. You look like a jackass, and now you're going to lose your election to Little Miss Commie over here, who, she's going to be even worse than you. She's going to be like these people in Minneapolis who are going to say, "Oh, well, let's send counselors. We've fired all the cops, and I don't know why the crime keeps going up, but don't worry, we've got plenty of counselors. Yeah, and you're going to send those counselors to answer some sort of criminal complaint, and they're going to end up getting killed or injured. And then you're going to have to send some guys with guns, or you're going to, you can't confiscate enough guns, Sarah. You're not the president. So I guess you could stand there and say, well, if we had confiscated all the guns in the state, this might have worked. It's really the guns coming out of California and Washington that are really doing all the damage. But it's just not going to work. You can't confiscate enough guns. You can't make guns illegal enough. And there's not going to be enough people left in Portland by the time this is all over. Ted's driven them out. I mean, there's been, months of riots. Anybody with any sense has already put their house up for sale or just gotten the hell out. You're going to lose your tax base like so many of these other places. And you're not even going to have the money for all these wonderful things you're promising, like free housing and food and jobs and UBI and all the kind of communist crap that people promise. You might be able to deliver on the free housing because there's going to be empty streets in Portland. People will eventually abandon their houses like they did in Detroit, and you'll be running, an open city with people who are, homeless essentially, but live in houses that they have no investment in, so they'll wreck them because they don't own them, and you gave them it, and you'll keep giving them homes. If the rule is, well, you get a home, you have to have a home, many of these people will just wreck the home they live in. Some of them are drug addicts, some of them are mentally ill. You can't just put them in houses and expect them to flourish. And you don't have the money to solve all their problems. You don't have the money and time. And meanwhile, while all that's happening, all the productive members of your city will leave, if there's any left by the time this election's over. By the time Ted's done screwing everything up, Ted, who won't even arrest the guys who attacked his building with fireworks. So you're in trouble, Sarah. You're probably going to win this election. I don't know what you expect to have happen. Do you expect that you're going to institute all this communist philosophy, all this commie crap, and then suddenly flowers will bloom and old ladies can walk the street at night? No, it's going to be a hellscape. It's going to be a hellscape that you rule over. And it ends with the federal government coming in and saying, well, we're finally here because things have gotten so bad. All the areas around Portland are now complaining about you. All the drug gangs are now based out of your city because you let them run free because there's no cops. That's the future you have to look forward to, unfortunately, I believe, with a mayor like Sarah over here. And even with a mayor like Ted. Maybe Ted would hold the line a little better than that. But Ted, you blew it. You should have sent in the National Guard from the beginning, nipped it in the bud, and then you could have been the moderate here. You could have been, no, that's not the way to run a city. It's pie in the sky BS. But you can't complain, Ted. She's out-lefted you. And for that, you're going to lose. And everybody in Portland's going to lose with both these losers.